It's spooky vampire time. Today we're going to be talking about one of the most legendary dungeons in all of D&D history, Castle Ravenloft. That thing's real old. I actually DM a player who's ran the original Ravenloft module, or at least played in it or something along the lines, and they spoke a lot of good about it. And frankly, it seems that they've kept up with it a lot. I have run about half of it because a lot of my players just bust in to take the magic item and go out and don't really want to properly explore everything, which is fine, it's up to them, but I really wanted them to explore Big Dungeon. I love Castle Ravenloft for a lot of different reasons, and frankly I have some selective advice about it because I have not run all the rooms. This is going to be more general advice, not me nitpicking each individual room and sprinkling in like tips for every single one. I don't have time for that. I'm going to condense all my advice down into maybe 10 minutes, maybe less, maybe more. That's always the average, you know. You can expect maybe around 10 minutes. So, Castle Ravenloft, the party should visit maybe twice, at least. I think the players will most likely just want to go there when they're higher level, regardless of if there's like a massive reason. They just want to go to Big Dungeon. I don't blame them. I'm a player that plays in a big dungeon, Dungeon of the Mad Mage. I like Big Dungeon. Castle Ravenloft is complex, and it looks more complex than it is. It is more difficult to run than a 3-room dungeon, you know, but it is not as complex as people think it is. There's definitely a lot of layers. But once you understand the layers, then you're good. I think the ultimate way to run Castle Ravenloft, and the only way that I've ever done it, is through Roll20. Buy Curse of Strahd on Roll20, run it there, use the map that it gives you there. Holy shit, it's the best. It has the best way of presenting you all of the information that you need. It is brilliant at giving you everything that you need. I think that, for starters, the map that it gives you in the book is isometric, which is the, you know, it's 3D-ish, if you know what I mean, which is fine. I love the view, I love the aesthetic, I love the poster, but it's complicated. The main thing that threw me off when I was like reading through it in the book before I, you know, started running it in Roll20 instead, was that the entry is like northwest, which is an interesting place to put it. I guess it makes sense for the grander scheme of things. I took a solid 15 minutes to look for the entrance, which is whack as hell and shouldn't have happened. So there's a lot of things that I don't like about the isometric grid in terms of running it. Some people find it easier to use it, and that's absolutely fine, but I haven't talked to many people who would prefer it, frankly, because I think the best thing about it is probably that it draws the walls in a more artistic way, shows you what you're looking at. I think it's great to have, like, maybe if you're running it on Roll20, the Roll20 one up, and then by your side maybe you have the isometric version, so you can check that out and perhaps on the fly give the party some extra descriptions. I'm not a fan of flavor text for like each individual room. I like it more as just like a setting the scene sort of thing. I'm more of a fan of the you know, the bullet points of a room sort of thing, the general layout descriptor that tells the DM what it is, instead of just going, it's very spooky in here. I don't really think as a DM you need to describe things in a horror way. You just need to describe what the players are seeing and they'll react as necessary. I find that honestly it can be more effective when you just say there's a dead corpse on the ground just rotting, then you turn the corner and you find a decrepit husk of what was once living. A dude fucking died is honestly more effective than that. Like, maybe if you're in person and you have all the lights and stuff and you've got like scented candles that make things smell like death, I don't know. I'm not a fan of the big descriptions. I used to be because I came to D&D after Critical Role, but now I've realised you don't need that stuff and your players will just get bored if you keep describing things for 8 years, which is something that Castle Ravenloft really tries to do. And some of the descriptions are neat. Some of them are not needed. Some of them just kind of go into overt detail about something that the players don't really care about. It doesn't matter to the module either. It's just like flavor text for the sake of flavor text. Some of the layout of Castle Ravenloft is somewhat difficult to understand. I think where people start getting confused is the extra, big towers and stuff. I got pretty confused with the heart, the heart thing in the top of the tower and stuff. I ran the vampire encounter very wrong. I think the main way of checking if you're doing it right and stuff is just looking at where each one leads and kind of the height between them, because I think the grid shows you that. I hope it does. Take advantage of Strahd's lair action that he has that I've not seen that many people use, where on the initiative count of 20, Strahd can move through a wall, or any walls, for the rest of that turn until the next initiative count of 20. That's really neat to me, that Strahd can just walk through the walls. The party are definitely not going to feel safe if they see him do that. Like, they're just walking through a corridor and Strahd just walks through the wall like, sup, and then just goes through the next one. That's going to scare them, because now they know that the big bad 9th level spellcaster vampire can just jump on him, be like, woo, hey, what's up, and just come out of anywhere. So that's how you create suspense, through gameplay, not through descriptors. That's why stuff like the little wooden Strahd flying from the top like, Wah! And then they just shoot him, and then, oh, well, I guess it wasn't Strahd, let's keep going. That's effective, because it's something that they have to deal with the consequences of, instead of just seeing the aftermath, if you know what I mean. Which there's a lot of in Curse of Strahd. There's a lot of aftermath seeing, if you know what I mean. Which is not something I'm a fan of, per se. I think that in the castle, unless they have been invited, Strahd should emphasize through gameplay that they're not welcome here through, one way or another. There's several ways to go about it in terms of gameplay. He could straight up appear and say, no, you're not welcome. Maybe put just like a wall of force in some place just to emphasize that, no, I do not want you to go there. That might incentivize further travel. Like if he knows wall of force, he could just boop, drop that down. And then the party can't explore that area of the dungeon until they come back later. And they'll be like, oh shit, well I guess we gotta come back to see that part. Maybe he blocks off the frickin' sun sword that he keeps in his castle there. That's a good incentive to try and mess with him. And even if they try to stall for time, because Wall of Force takes 10 minutes and then it's done, Strahd can just come back and be like, oh, that's how it is. And then just, tell him fuck off. I think that the dungeon as well itself does a decent job of making sure that the party feel unwelcomed. The general layout is amazing. It feels like a proper castle to me, Like, it's got the whole layout right, which I absolutely adore. And the module itself does a great job of making Castle Ravenloft feel like Castle Ravenloft, if you know what I mean. Some of the things are kind of unused, like it gives you a big-ass map for the courtyard. We didn't need a map for the courtyard. There's a lot of little things that can be quite fun for the party to interact with. I love the little encounter with Strahd's accountant, I think it is. He's just kind of chained up and he's having a riot and he's like, oh, way up. And it just keeps going, that sort of thing. I love that. I find that when you put a person in a dungeon, it makes the dungeon feel more real because other people have tried to go there or are there. If you know what I mean. Like, it feels like this dungeon isn't just made for them. It's been here for a while. It's been explored because people can relate to other people, believe it or not. But they find it a bit harder to relate to the 7 ghasts. I don't know about you, but I relate to ghasts. Have you seen how fucking stinky they are? They can poison you with their absolutely volatile stench, bro. I love ghasts and ghouls. They're fun. I think it's important to note that not everything in the castle is going to try and kill the party. Most of them are, some in more subtle ways, not just, you have entered the room, roll initiative, please, and then they start fighting each other. The encounter with Rahadin could be pretty strategic. He could sit there for a bit and be like, yes, of course. I am indeed Strahd's Chamberlain. What do you want from me? And after a while of him not giving them enough answers and him being a bit of a dick, because Rahadin is a bit of a dick, he Misty steps out. And then if the party counterspell it, it's like, oh. That's exactly what happened to my Rahadin. They eventually got in a fight with him and he tried to Misty step out, but got counterspelled and then he fucking died at level 5, dude. That's so bad. My party was very powerful, though, so I'm not too bummed out about it because they unintentionally built the most broken-ass party combo in the universe. Yeah, that's my somewhat limited advice of Castle Ravenloft. I didn't want to really go into too many, specifics because I feel like they get boring. So, if you thought this was helpful at all, maybe, like and comment and stuff. Keep the discussion going. We have a Discord as well that you can join. Most importantly, if you subscribe, you will never miss an upload. I feel like I have to mock YouTubers just every single time, even though I am one. And I ask for likes and stuff at the end of every video. Bye, guys. In fact, I like big dungeons so much that I'm making a video about Castle Ravenloft, so there you go.